How do we use Tinkercad to design 3D models which we can use on our model railways? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good morning everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now, over the last few weeks, I've had more of an increasing number of people ask me about 3D files or ST files. So what I thought I'd do is show you how I do it, and that's using Tinkercad. I'm going to type in Tinkercad. Obviously, it's the top one. Now, that's taken me straight into my files, but you create your own account by following the messages that come up on the screen. It will give you the option to sign in via Google, sign in via Facebook, or just put in your email address. Whatever it is, you won't be able to do anything until you start off by putting your account together. Right, I've put this up as a snapshot of the basic Tinkercad screen. I suggest you take a screenshot of it yourself, maybe print it off. It may be helpful to you. It does look a bit of a mess, but when you start looking into it, hopefully it makes sense. I've tried to vary the colours of the writing so that it's a little bit easier to read. But again, if you've got any questions, please just say. Okay, so there's our basic screen there. Hopefully you found the snapshot helpful with all the notes all over it, but if you've got any questions, just say. I'll try and demonstrate as many of the features as I can in the video, but you know, I might not remember everything. Now, down the right hand side here, you've got loads of literally just basic shapes. But having said all that, if you click on some of these, there are loads of other things there as well. So if I click on, say, fun and games, there is a football, there's a skull, a tree. It wouldn't be a particularly exciting tree. If I click on more shapes, scroll down again, there's a table, more shapes. You've got, there's a snowman. It looks like there's a tennis ball, a track. If I go into everyday objects, there's a toilet roll. I mean, some of these might be helpful, some of them might not be. But, you know, you might be just looking particularly for a particular thing, and it might be just right there in front of you. So all I suggest you do is just have a play, have an explore. There's loads there, absolutely loads. But I'm going to go back to basic shapes, because for me, or for this basic task, this is the most important thing. Now, I'm going to bring in a cube like that. Now, it has brought in the measurements with me, but if it doesn't, you go to ruler and bring in the measurements like that. Now, you can change the size of this. Notice the measurements are changing as well. So I've got the position of the object where it is on the screen, on the mat, but I've also got the size. So I can do that. I can take a hold of all the handles, or I can take a hold of that one, and whatever way I like. If I want to take it up and down, I can just make the whole shape as tall or as short as I want to. If I want to lift it up in 3D space, I can take hold of the black cone at the top, like that. Notice here, that is the measurement that has changed. Watch that one, 33. See? But if I want it to back down to base again, which is important, because if your model, when you come to print, is up in the air, all your filament will be doing is just, your print header will be up in space and it won't have anything to stick to. So it will literally just chuck out string of filament and you'll end up with a big string ball. But anyway, to bring that back down again, I just press D, just like that. The letter D on your keyboard brings it back down. Now, if I want to join it together with something, let's take that shape, which is a hexagon type pyramid, or prism, sorry. I can bring it over the top of that one. Again, I can do everything that I just did with that, like that. Say, for example, like that. Now, if I want to make that, bring that so it's centered that way, it's centered that way, I can go to my align tool, so I can highlight both, left mouse button drag over the top, or I could click each individual item, press down shift, and then click the separate items individually, multiple select. Now go to align. I've got 3 handles here, which I can then click middle, or there, or the other end. But you can do it in 3 planes, so you can do it that way. I can join it up with the other end. Oh, sorry, I've dropped it. Like that. And just do exactly how you want it to be. If I hold down my right mouse button, see? Now, if I draw a line over both or select both, now go to combine, I can make one object. All right. But I can also take chunks out of it. Say, for example, if I bring in this sphere, make it much bigger, say like that. You'll notice here, by the way, you've got some sliders. Just have a play. So I can make it a sphere, I can just bring it down, I can have, you know, or whatever you want, really. Just have a play. The sliders come up, just do it. So if I want to make that a hole and take a chunk out of that, turn it into a hole, I'll take that down to base. Oh, it is on the base. So again, I select all, both objects, and it takes a chunk out. Yeah. So hopefully you can see now by putting shapes next to each other, overlapping them, press combine, you can make a new shape, or putting another shape over the top and turn it into a hole just there, and then press combine. You can then make new shapes. Now, say, for example, you've gone wrong. You've got undo just there, as I pointed out to you before, but you also got that one there, which actually just takes you back a step for that model. All right, that one does steps you've done all together. So whatever complete steps you've done, that one's like a model reset or ungroup, if you like. Yeah, ungroup it's called. There you go, ungroup. Now, say for example, I want to then flip something. I can go to flip, just like that. And you've got 3 arrows in 3 different planes. Now, there's no point in me doing that one because it can end up the same, and that one's going to end up the same. But if I do that one, you can see it's different. And it's also kept me connected to the sphere. It won't necessarily do that if you've not got... Let's take that back down to base again, like that. And I can still take the chunk out with my sphere, just like that. So you can end up with some quite weird but yet exciting type shapes, can't you? You can see how that's all going to happen. So we've gone through that. Obviously, delete is quite obvious. Duplicate. Now, if I want more than that, I can then... It's put another one in there, so I can do that. If I want to rotate it, if you notice now, if I click on it, I've got some rotating signs. There's one there, and one there. Now, I will go into this in a bit more detail, but if I stay my cursor inside the circle, I can do it to presets. Or if I want my circle to a particular size, I can do that. 50, and it takes me back to my overall sizes. Yeah, you can see there. Now that's gone below. So D brings me back. And do will take me back as the step. Am I making? Hopefully, I'm making sense. All right. Now let's move on. Now, oh, there's one other shape I haven't showed you. So if I just ungroup that. Now, say, for example, you want to do some work on some of these things here, and that sphere is in the way. So I click on it. Notice you've got a light bulb there and another light bulb there. That one's greyed out. But if I click that, what it's going to do is hide that particular shape to allow me then to bring in something else. do be aware that if you get this green plane there, that's taking you to the plane of that. So I don't want that. So I'm just going to click away like that. Now click and D. I'm going to make that a lot bigger. Like so. Move it across. Notice it's gone all weird. Like that. And now I'm going to take that shape out. Like that. And I've got a weird shape now, but I can also bring that other one back in. Highlight all of it or a bit of it. If I want to take the chunk out of that bit alone, highlight those two, and that won't affect that one. But if I want to do it all three, highlight all the bits you want that whole effect in. There you go, look at that. There's 4 different parts there, but they all operate as one unit. So if I press D now, notice that bit is below ground. If I press D, it brings the whole lot back up because I've combined them all. Okay, now hopefully that's been helpful to you. So let's now go into making a gantry for your model railway. Right, welcome back. Now, hopefully that has given you some idea of what the screen is about and how to use the screen. There are certain things I'm not going to go through because, to be honest with you, I suggest that you go looking on YouTube and look at some other people's tutorials on how to use Tinkercad as well. Don't just follow mine, because at the end of the day, somebody else is going to mention something which I don't, and you may find that particular feature incredible, you know, and it would be a shame to miss it. Okay, now one of the things we're going to do is create a package, if you like. So I'm going to show you how I make the overhead gantry system. Now, I normally, if I zoom in and I just clicked, obviously, this icon just here, get rid of the hand, the second one down, okay? That zooms you in, and you can click on one item and it will zoom you in. Now, what I do to create my gantries is create 2 of these, 2 of these, 1 of those, 1 of those, and this is my socket system where you create 4 sides which would then fit around a completed post, and then you slot the whole item into that. So I'm not going to show you how I do all of this, because if I show you how I do this, that will then give you the indication of what I do for that and that. I will show you how to do that and then glue them together with a 3D view at the end. Now, first of all, please bear in mind, oops. Now, actually, I've just changed that. So all I'm going to do now is go to undo. That brings it back to where it was, and end of story. Undo is your favorite friend, so don't lose touch of that. Now, to move, I've found if I'm on a PC, hold down Shift, Control, and left mouse button, and that will then allow you to slide across. If you click right mouse button, that will then allow you to zoom in, zoom out, but you can also do the same by clicking the cube, and you can just move the cube with your trackpad or your mouse into whichever way you want. Now, I'm going to have my screen fairly flat on. Now, first of all, these here, this is N gauge, by the way, so obviously I need to double these measurements. So I'm going to go with 130 millimeters there. So I'm going to bring in a cube like that. And I'm going to say 100, I'm going to click on the measurement, 130 millimeters, and click enter. That brings me that down to there. This measurement here, I'm guessing is, if I just undo that shape, I can see. Undo that again so I can see each post, which would be, well, that's 2.88. So I'm going to say 6 millimeters. So I'm going to change that to 6. Now, if you're not happy with these measurements, change them. It's not the end of the world. Now, in N gauge, I've always gone with 0.5 millimeter, 0.5 millimeters thick. But for this one, zoom up a bit so I can see this measurement, I'm going to go with 1 millimeter. So there's my flat side. Now, first of all, I now need to determine how wide this is going to be, which will then give me the position of the second post. So in my end gauge one, I'm going to combine those back again. So I'm moving that across now. So I'm going to bring that across. So duplicate. So I've gone to this one here. And then pick up my second one, which always comes out on the top. Now I can type in the exact measurements you want. Now I'm going to start creating this top bar here, which I'm going to go with 1 millimeter square. Again, if these measurements are not good for you, just change them. It's not the end of the world. So I'm literally just making each bar individually and bringing it across. Now to move it, I'm clicking on it with my left mouse button, holding the left mouse button down and bringing it up. Okay, next up, so I'm now going to bring this bar down to create this bottom bar down the bottom here. So I've already highlighted that by clicking on it. Make sure you click with the point of the arrow, duplicate. Now, down the bottom here, you've got some increments. So if I bring my cursor down to that and click, you'll notice all these different increments. I'm going to set mine back to 1. Are when you press your up, down, left, right arrow keys, bottom right hand corner of the screen, it will move by those increments. So I've already duplicated it. So I'm now going to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Again, if you want yours more than that, in fact, I'm just going to add another couple on there. So I've gone to 17. Now, like I said, whatever increment you've got those two set to, when you press your arrow keys, that's the amount it will jump. So if you set it to 0.5 millimeters, it will jump 0.5. Now, that gap now is 17 millimeters. Again, if you're not happy with that measurement, just change it. I'm going to start making these diagonals now. So duplicate, bring that bar down, and I'm going to set mine around about 19. So I'm just going to give 2 millimeters gap. Oops, press the 9 and enter. Okay. Now, rotation. If you put that into 3D mode, you'll notice there are 3 different rotation arrows. There's one there, and another one just there. And it will rotate in all 3 planes. Now, I want mine to rotate by 90 degrees. So if I click on it again, oh, my arrows move to the bottom there. They do flip about. Now, if your cursor stays in the middle, you can move it to any of those increments there, and it will jump to whatever you want it to be, okay? If I move my arrow outside the circle, like that, I can move it to individual. So I'm not stuck by individual measurements. I'm going to take mine to 60 degrees. Now, I don't know whether that's absolutely spot on or what. I don't know. But so I'm now going to move that up into there. And actually, it's ended up in the post. So I need to move it across a bit. Right arrow. Probably 1 will do. Like that. So I've got a bit in the top. In fact, I haven't got a bit in the top, so I'm just going to move it up a bit. Reset my thing to 0.1. Like that. So if, oh, it's still not a bit more. There. What I can also do is just stretch it down a bit just by moving the handles. Like that. Now, what I need to do now is create the one going across that way. So I'm not going to sit here and, what I'm going to do is duplicate, go to flip, got my arrows, and flip it the other way, like that. Now if I combine those by going over left mouse button down, highlights both, I can now go to combine. Hope that makes sense. Now I want to put in all of those across there. Again, I'm not going to sit there and put them all in. I've highlighted that V shape. Duplicate. Now this is pretty clever. I'm now holding down my right arrow, sorry. Line that up with the previous one. So that V is now lined up with that V. Go back to combine. Make sure you don't click any other keys. If you do, it won't work. Now all I'm doing is clicking combine, and it will keep going for as long as you want it to. Okay, so let's put all those in. But you'll notice there is a gap just there and not there. So I'm going to highlight all of those, draw a select box, holding down my left mouse button over all of those. It's just those diagonals. Combine. And now what I can do is stretch. Now that's a bit in the way of that drop down menu box. So you get this come up every now and again. But all I'm going to do now is just stretch that across like that. Okay. Now that's enabled me to do that. But there's also this diagonal coming down the bottom here. Okay. So I'm going to undo all of those now. Undo, undo. And I should now have one. Duplicate. Bring that down like that. Take it across to that point just there. Now this box is in the way, so I'm just going to bring it across. So I'm hoping that it will bring that down like that, across there like that, and I've got my diagonal. Still not quite in the right place, so what I'm going to do, just stretch it across like that. Now to take the other one, duplicate. I could sit here and hold down the left mouse button, or the left arrow, sorry. Oops. Again, if that happens, just do undo, it's your best friend. Take it across like that. And then you can just duplicate, flip, and that sort of thing. Now, the next thing, box over the whole lot, combine. And that has now made all of that pretty solid. Now, for all of that, if I zoom you out a bit now, that should help. We've obviously just made this, and you'll need two when you print those. But that should help you also make this piece, which I normally do to the width of that. So inside those two diagonals, and then the top piece with the caps on the top, which would be the same width as that, plus 13 millimeters wide that way. That will sit on top there. Now, all of these I'm going to make to 13 millimeters. Now, if you notice, my end gauge one I've set to 6.2. So by doubling it, pretty much 13 millimeters. Now, so that piece, that second bit, and that all need to be 13 millimeters wide, because what I do is make one of these at the front, one of those, another one at the back, and then all of these just get glued in the middle. I'll show you a 3D view very shortly. Now, to make this piece, again, very simple. I'm going to take my basic cuboid shape. I'm going to say 1 millimeter wide that way. But this time, I'm going to make it 13 millimeters wide. As I said, you've got to keep all of these pieces exactly the same. Now, this is now going to be made to the height of that. Actual fact, I want that 130. I'm just going to change that. Oops, hasn't clicked. 130. So it's reduced it a tiny bit. So this piece, I want it 1 millimeter shorter. So I'm going to make it 129. Like that. Okay. Now, I want that to be 13 millimeters apart from the next one. In fact, let's flip it and then it might make life a bit easier to see. There. So you can now see that is 1 millimeter short of that height at the top there. Okay. Now I'm going to make that diagonal piece as I said. So if I duplicate and make sure my snaps are on 1 millimeter to make life easier for me. Or in fact, I could go 5 millimeters if I want to, but I'll stick with 1. It just means you click it 13 times. So 1, 2, oops, haven't duplicated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's my width. Right, now what I've just realised is I've made these 13 millimeters wide, but I actually want them to the same width as this piece down the side here. So I think I did that to 6. So take both of those down to 6 millimeters, and that should be about right. In fact, to make it a little bit more interesting, let's make it a tad narrower and make it 5. And then there's like a slight indent on that center section. So now what I'm going to do, bring it right round again, bring in another rectangle, because I'm now going to start thinking about these cross brace pieces. So take that across again. So that is 13 millimeters that way, and height wise is 5. And then I'm just going to say 5 down as well. Okay. So those pieces, make sure they're combined. They are, because that shape hasn't gone together. Bring that in roughly in the right place. Highlight both. Align. That one's all right, but center at the bottom, that's in the right place now. Now, these bars going down, there are 6. So I've just highlighted, duplicate, and I want to make sure that I go down, say, 20 millimeters. Let's do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Again, check your measurements if you really want them exact. So now go back to duplicate. 3, 4, 5, 6. In fact, that's not far off. But I need them to come down a bit more. So I'm just going to now highlight, left mouse button down. Click on all of those, combine, and bring it down to about there. That will be absolutely perfect. Combine the whole lot. There we go. That's the side pieces made, and I've showed you what to do to make these top pieces here and here. Now, let's have a look at a 3D view. Right, hopefully you can see how this is working now. So I would put the front piece, or back piece if you like, the red bit, flat on the table, and then stick the top piece to it, making sure it's perfectly aligned, and then followed by the bottom piece. Okay, once you've done that, that will allow you then to stick these into the correct position. If you remember, we made these 1 millimeter shorter than the height to allow for this piece to sit on the top. So once you've stuck that on, stick that on, leave that to set, and then stick this piece over the top, and that is your gantry made. Now, in 00 gauge, personally, I would, unless you've got a resin printer, I would buy the registration arms, because somebody who's Western Wagon Works, for example, are going to be able to produce those considerably more accurately than what we would be able to on here, unless you've got a resin printer. And for me, on my N gauge layout, that is perfectly fine. But when I come to do this on my 00 gauge layout, I probably will buy the registration arms and make the gantries myself. Now, hopefully that's been of some help to you. But what I suggest you do is just have a play. I mean, the other place that you can get 3D models is Tinkercad. And what you do is you save it to your downloads folder. Here, go to import, choose a file. Now that's taken me to my downloads file. Just make sure you're importing an STL file, an OBJ or an SVG. If it's not those types of files, it won't bring it in. It really is as simple as that. Sometimes you find that items from Tinkercad are too big for items from Thingiverse are too big and it won't bring them in. So you just have to then maybe take it to a slicer, reduce it down, and then take it back to Tinkercad if you want to modify it slightly. And notice it says a maximum of 25 megabytes, which to be honest is not a lot. Right, when you've finished designing your model, you're now ready to export it. And so that means clicking on the export icon in the top right hand corner, and you will get a box come up which then asks you which file format. Click on .stl. And now it's a case of waiting for the drop down menu to come up, and that tells you that that export is complete. If there it is. If it doesn't come up, click on the refresh icon in the top left hand corner, which is a circle, and then that will help you to refresh the whole of the internet, and then hopefully it should work. Right, hope you found this very helpful. And if you do have any questions about how to design in Tinkercad, please just drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not going to cover in this video the aspect of putting it into the slicer. I'm now using Creality Print, which allows me to send the files directly from the computer through Wi-Fi to the printer. I did put out a video where I used Creality Cloud, and to be honest with you, it was such a nightmare to do that. I discovered Creality Print and it was so much easier. All right, anyway, I will catch you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly Model Railways. Take care of yourself and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.